Aaron Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle here with you again. It's about 1/4 till noon. It is time to update you on the winter storm approaching to see what has changed, if anything at all. And we'll give you the latest on what you can expect for your New Year's Eve plans here over central Oklahoma, northeast Oklahoma, western, southern. We'll take care of all of you. And then we'll take you on into New Year's Day to see how things ought to wrap up. So thanks for joining me. Be sure to like and share this live broadcast as we speak. Just hit the share button so everyone who's not been paying attention for the last few days will at least get notified that we've got a big winter storm coming our way. So let's get on with the details here. I'm going to waste too much time. As always, I appreciate you guys sending me those stars. I always see them out of the corner of my eye here when I look down on my phone. So Megan and Carrie, appreciate you doing that. You can play the stars game by just clicking at the bottom and just right where it says a comment section, you can hit the little star icon and Facebook will fill in the rest on what to do from there. So let's take a look at the current situation from the National Weather Service. You can see the pink area has grown. This is a winter storm warning. Remember how last night I told you they would move it to the east and southeast, and that's exactly what they did. In the outskirts of that, this is a winter weather advisory, and that's going to be changed as well. They will update this. Like I said last night, some of this will be ice storm warning possibility. Some of it's going to be winter storm warning. Some of it may even be a blizzard warning, depending on how the winds go as the system continues to wrap up and produce some blowing snow. But needless to say, it's a good winter storm here for Oklahoma. Now, the overall picture of this, let's take a look at the position of the upper level low. And it's down here still over Mexico. It has yet to move into Texas. And that is always a concerning factor when you're trying to track the exact track on the model data. It just leads for error. But, they're doing their best that they can. What you can notice out ahead of it, all this color you see here, the greens and the blues, that is copious amounts of moisture. It's pulled in from two areas, the Gulf of Mexico and also the Pacific. And it combines here into Texas and then moves into Oklahoma. So we're going to stay overcast today here in Oklahoma. So temperatures will not warm that much, which means the models will bust on that. We've also had a lot more dry air move in overnight, so the models have busted on that. Those two things are big factors when it comes to the final outcome, what's going to happen. So we're going to take you through that here step by step. So here's an example of how the temperatures across Oklahoma are. They're in the low 30s here in Tulsa, so 32 degrees, right at freezing. 30 here in Oklahoma City, even to the 30s down here in southeast Oklahoma. So this is the numbers in red. Now the numbers in green is the dew point value. Dew point value 25 here in Oklahoma City. Actually 23, believe it or not. 25 out toward El Reno and Yukon. Low 20s and teens out northwest and mid to 20s out northeast. All of this is a bust. The models, none of them saw this coming. That typically means when you see a bust like this, expect a lot more freezing rain than what the models had suggested. And most of them, were pretty light on the freezing rain. I erred on the side of caution with the Canadian because it was heavy on the side of freezing rain. I liked it to look better. It seemed to have a better grasp on the pattern. These other models are now turning toward the Canadian. So that's good for me. That means I was on the right course of the forecast the last few days, and it's not going to change. So if you've seen what I've had to say the last few days, I'm not changing it. And this is the reasons why. So here's a look at how the dew point values into the low 20s here in Missouri, and temperatures here into the 20s as well. And so what this is there's a surface high that's just off the screen here around the Great Lakes area. And what that happens is, with these pressure rises, it forces in weak cold air advection. So we're constantly going to replace the atmosphere with some drier and colder air during the stages of the event. And that is very important to get an ice storm to go. Now, the other key ingredient is down here in the Gulf of Mexico. This area of low pressure that is developing along the coastline is going to be pumping in all of that moisture back over it right here into Oklahoma. So it is a perfect setup for a really nasty winter storm over the state. And it's all happening with just hours away. If we take a look at the dew points, I want to show you how the wind speeds, when I talk about how you get those weak cold air and dry air advection, see these little wind barbs pointing this direction out of Missouri. So if you animate this through time on the short range models, you can see how we're constantly in a northeasterly wind flow from Tulsa all the way down here to Oklahoma City. It turns more northerly as the low kicks in closer to the Red River Valley by around 3 o'clock in the morning, and we get more of a north wind that comes in as a result. So what just that means is we're under constant cold air advection, which should offset some of the warming that will take place from the model as we really kick up the warm air advection aloft, which will try to help to warm the column some. Unfortunately, I still think that warm air advection will dominate to a degree where we've got a lot more ice and snow, like in the form of freezing rain and sleet to deal with than snow. So it will help to lessen snowfall amounts in the areas that we're going to talk about. Why that dryness is important. Here's a look at the sounding today. This morning from Norman, the red line is temperature, the green line is dew point. This might have been an error a little bit out here because it says a minus 45 to minus 50 degree dryness in the dew point. I think that might be a sensor error. It's too far out to the west, and if that's the case, there's not a single model that has seen that. But regardless, what happens is when these two lines meet as the atmosphere moistens, this little blue line is the wet bulb temperature, and it is below freezing at all levels of the atmosphere. So this is the 0 degree line, or Celsius, or 32 Fahrenheit. So it's well west of this line, well to the left. That means that if that were to be the case, it would be all snow, right? Well, the issue is we will have these winds kind of come around to a southeast direction, which will cause a warm nose to go like this. And then the temperature goes back below freezing and down here. So with this warm nose, this melts all the snow that will form at this thousands of feet up in the atmosphere, melts into rain right here, and then it refreezes because it's back in the cold air, and that's how we get the freezing rain and sleet. So that's the setup here in central Oklahoma. And why it's important to look at some of these conditions to see how the models are handling things, and as usual, not so well. All right, so here's a look at a blended approach for timeline tonight, because I know you're wanting to know. So right now we do have rainfall moving in, heavy rain across the Red River. It's going to continue to work its way northward. Just west of Dallas-Fort Worth is where all the nasty stuff will be today and tonight. So again, Dallas-Fort Worth, I think you just miss out just by a hair. You go just to the left side of Tarrant County and you're going to be right into it. But regardless, here in Oklahoma City, by 6 o'clock, we've got the light freezing rain, indicated here by the pink, beginning to move in to the area. Tulsa, now you're at 32 degrees over, 26 I think it was. So likely you're probably going to get some freezing rain at the onset of this as well this evening. So bridges and overpasses will be susceptible for going out for your New Year's Eve celebrations. Here is a look at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It just gets heavier. So at 9 o'clock, heavy freezing rain here in central Oklahoma. There will be some snow where it's cold enough in those thermodynamic profiles, temperature and dew point profiles out here in the west. But here over the heart of Oklahoma City, metro area is just nasty. And then we're going to go through time here, step you through. Again, that was 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Here's midnight right here. Just a heavy freezing rain, sleet. You're probably getting a little bit of snow starting to mix in as the atmosphere tries to get cold enough, or might even get some thunder, sleet, thunder freezing rain, thunder snow overnight. As we head into about, let's see what time it is, about 2 o'clock in the morning. So the heavy freezing rain is shifting to the north. By the way, Kansas, southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri, you're going to be under the gun for a lot of ice accumulations for this. You've got an ice storm coming for your way. But here in the blue area, heavy snow should be developing here in Oklahoma City by 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. This heavy blue snow continues out down toward Lawton. If you look toward Dallas-Fort Worth down here, just left on the west side of Tarrant County is where the light snow will be moving through. So like I was saying, you're so close for you guys. I had my fingers crossed you get a little action, but it just didn't quite work out. Now, this is assuming again that the track does not even change 50 miles. If it changes 30 miles to the east, you're back in it. At least Tarrant County is. You go full 50 miles or 60 miles, now Dallas County is going to be a little the action. That's how hard of a line in the sand this thing's going to be. Okay, so as we head into tomorrow morning, by Friday morning, snow's still heavy here in north central and northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, Got some snow and mixture continuing in the Tulsa area overnight Friday night into the morning hours. Some more snow there. Snow should wrap up by around lunchtime over the state, moving out. Lingering flurries, though, here in central northern Oklahoma. I believe throughout the mid part of the afternoon, you might even get some a little bit of drizzle type particulate, almost like a little freezing drizzle type deal. But the heavy precipitation will be long gone. And then as we head into Saturday morning, Friday night, Saturday morning, the models are hinting at another round of snow that'll move through. You can barely see it here in the pockets shown on the map. And that could end up producing a quick inch dusting of snow just because it'll be very dry, very powdery. But that won't be anything to write home about compared to what we've had. So that's a look at your timeline. Let's get into the amounts. The European model, as I've told you before, has been slowly drifting to the east, and it continues to do so. So the European is finally moving east like it should have been this whole time. Normally, it knows what's up. This time around, I just have my doubts about it, and of course, it could still win in the end, but it's not. It's an outlier to everything else. So that's why I was concerned about it. But its amounts are ridiculous. 8 to 10 inches of snow here in these heavier bullseye areas in northwest Oklahoma. So Woodward, again, is about here. Where's my little thing there? And then we've got Ponca City here, and you've got Enid over here. So you can see how it's east of Woodward, but it's in the kind of the northern and west central areas of Oklahoma itself. So if you were to cut Oklahoma, into 4 quadrants, you're in that northwestern quadrant here of central Oklahoma. Again, that means southeastern parts of, the Oklahoma doesn't get a whole lot. But the model is hinting that you should get some snow, and that's due to some dynamic cooling because the upper level low should be positioned right about in this spot. So within that, you get a cold air column that comes all the way down when it's stacked. So you should get some snow, believe it or not, and it could actually end up being an inch or 2 or 3, right around. There's a very narrow band that'll form. You can't really predict it too well, but that's usually what happens. Okay, so let's look at some of the other models, just to kind of give you an idea of where they think the heaviest snow band will be. We'll draw a line here from Tulsa here to southeastern Missouri, and then we'll cut it off right about through Woodward. And then we're going to put this through time, and we're going to see how well they all do. So this is the long-range Canadian model. This is the American model. This is the brand new GFS beta version. This is the high-resolution short-term. These are some of the CAM models. There. The NAM model, 3-kilometer version, and then the high-resolution Canadian model. So what you've seen here is they finally all come around to a trend, and that trend is to keep the snow amounts within this band. So that's your take home. This will be the largest. This will be the area where the largest snowfall occurs. And the other take home is there are going to be pockets here. That's 7 inches. This is 7 inches. That says 7 inches on that particular model. Of course, this one goes a little crazier. There's 10 inches there. The Herd does the same thing. There's 10 inches, 11 inches. So there are going to be some pockets of some heavy, heavy, heavy snow. The models won't know exactly where they are, but it's going to be within this band, and more likely in this area here, just west of Oklahoma City. So from Blackwell back down toward Enid, just west of probably El Reno, and then back down toward Lawton. I think that's the most favorable area to get those ridiculous snowfall amounts, because you don't want to go too far away from the forcing, but you want to go far enough away to get into the cold air so you don't have to deal with sleet or snow. So it'll be a narrow band of some craziness. Now, what about the ice itself? 'Cause I know a lot of you guys are like, okay, that's great, but what about the ice first? Well, let's take a look at that as well. The European, like I said, has been out to lunch for this whole thing, so I'm just ignoring it. Here is a look at the global Canadian version of the model, so it's a little lower resolution, but it's got that ice from Tulsa northward, again, southeastern Kansas, southwestern Missouri. You guys got an ice storm coming, and then down southwest here into central Oklahoma and southwest Oklahoma. This is the American model. Same kind of idea. Are you watching the trend here? I didn't draw the lines here, but we're going to do something like this and see where they all kind of line up. So again, there's where'd it go? Oh, I just deleted it. Let's do that again. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so we'll do something like that. Okay, so there's the American, the new version of the American, high resolution HER, and I'm going to get to that here in a second, why that's important. The NAM, heavy ice, and it's finally shifted east. It's been west out with the European out to lunch, and it's finally come east. So that's good. High resolution version says there's going to be pockets of ice up to around a ½ inch or more freezing rain. That's the blend of all models in the low end. I don't like that. And then here's the Canadian. Again, about ½ inch of ice here in central Oklahoma, and up to around 3/4 to an inch of ice here in southwestern Missouri and southeastern Kansas, even a little bit of nasty stuff down here in west central Texas. So that is a look at how the ice ought to play out. So we're still looking at about 1/4 to ½ inch of ice across many areas here within that corridor. All right, so now I'm going to talk about why all this stuff matters, and we're going to use the latest HER to do this with. Okay, so that 17 didn't come in, so we'll do the 16 to show you what's going to happen here. So again, we got the precipitation. If you're just joining me late, here's the freezing rain moving in around 6 o'clock here in central Oklahoma, Oklahoma City Metro, down to Norman and Moore, back up toward Tulsa. From that point forward, it's go time. And you can see out southern Oklahoma into Texas. You can see how that mess continues down there, just west of Dallas-Fort Worth. You see all the pink on the map, that's all freezing rain and sleet. The blue is snow trying to mix in, which will really start to mix in probably after midnight, around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning here in central Oklahoma, and snowing heavily at that point in time. All right, so that's the same kind of look that we showed you earlier, but this is what's important. And I'm going to zoom into Oklahoma itself so you can get a better view here. Okay, so this model has not produced any ice at all in all of its runs. And this is our best one, short term. And I didn't buy it, and I warned you about that last night, and it's finally doing it today. Why? Well, for one, it realizes the amount of dry air is in place aloft in the atmosphere, but two, it realizes that the dew point values are in the low to mid 20s. And so because of that, it changes output completely. And it also shifted the direction a little bit more. So now it stretches right along I-44 corridor from Tulsa down to Shawnee, back down toward Norman, and back down toward Lawton. So now you can see how this ice corridor has shifted a little bit more east than all those other models we showed you, and I favor this. I've been favoring this look because this matches the Canadian for quite a while. Now, in any of these little pockets, there's 0.6, there's 0.6, 0.5, 0.7. That's on the northwest side of Tulsa. So again, you're going to have some pockets in here, some really bad icing, but otherwise 1/4 to ½ inch is totally feasible in this amount. So that's enough to cause power outages. This is all elevated, bridges and overpasses, sure. Otherwise, we're talking about trees and power lines and buildings, that kind of thing that's going to get the ice accumulations. The ground temperatures are too warm, and the road temperatures will be too warm to cause much of a problem until probably after midnight tomorrow night, when the precipitation is just too heavy and it offsets any warming that may come up. So if you're traveling again for New Year's Eve, you're going to have to be careful. So that was a look at how it produced the ice here in the state. When it comes to snow, because it has more ice on the output, it's going to have less snow on the output. You can't have it both ways. So here in central Oklahoma, it's dropped the snow amounts. To see, there's 2.5. But if you look on the southwest side of town, what has it got? 7. So what this indicates is down toward Lawton, there's 7 convective elements of heavy snowfall around midnight, developing out here in southwest Oklahoma, and then moving into central Oklahoma around 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, the caveat here is this map is not finished. This is incomplete. In other words, this only runs through about 4 o'clock in the morning. We still have to add another 3 hours to this. So these snowfall totals will come up, and then the period will add to it. So Tulsa, yes, you're going to get some snow out of this, as well as some of that ice. You're just on the far eastern edge of the ice. And of course the snow as well. But I do believe you'll see a little bit of both, enough to cause problems on the bridges and overpasses. Probably not enough to cause any ice stormage, power outages, but we'll see. Especially just north and west, that's a fair game call. But Tulsa itself, south and east, I think you're going to be okay, but it's going to be touch and go, too close to call, but that's the way it looks right now. Okay, so that was taking care of that. What else I want to show you? Anything else in particular? Just to kind of give you an idea of how the models are having a tough time predicting what's going to happen. This red line indicates a probability of freezing rain. The pink is sleet, and the green is rain. So the model actually thinks there's a more favorable probability of just plain old rain than it does freezing rain. And this is, I think, where it's going to error, which is why a lot of those model maps were a little low on the ice accumulations in the past. They're still making that same error now. If you look at overall snowfall, various models, I just picked Oklahoma City. There's a lot of clustering around 2 inches. That's an easy, safe blended call, especially when you consider how much ice and freezing rain will be a part of that first. I don't buy the low end. I buy the more higher ends, but it's going to be kind of sporadic. You get where those heavy bouts fall, like we kind of showed you in just random areas. Let's see. Okay, so the GFS doing the same kind of deal. It's got a higher probability of rain versus freezing rain, so 93% versus a 25%, and then eventually goes to snow here. So everybody likes the snow idea once you get to about 3 o'clock in the morning. Prior to that, the model at least agree that the thermodynamic profiles is more of a sleet and freezing rain. I think that's all I wanted to show you on that deal. I'm going to pull this up here real quick. So I get these questions all the time. If you go to my website, aarontutleweather.com, you can also get to it on my weather app. If you look on the weather data tab, or even on the weather app itself, just look for, where is it? Oklahoma road conditions. So you click on that. It'll show you what the soil temperatures are, which are key for roadway problems. But bridges and overpasses don't care about those surface temperatures, just the rest of the roads do. When you look at the legend, you can close that off. It'll have moderate, closed, fog, severe, all that. But what it's going to have on here is a lot of pictures. Just got a few right now, but it's going to have a lot more, usually of truck drivers on the road. Here's a couple that were parked, but it'll give you an idea of how the roads are. So let me go pick one where they're driving. So this guy's driving. So that's a look at his live picture. And you're going to be able to see these all across the state once the precipitation really gets going. So down here, we'll pick far southwestern Oklahoma. Cloudy skies on some little work site area. Down far southeast Oklahoma. He's driving, and guess what? He's got rain on his windshield. So light rain is starting to move into far southeast Oklahoma. So if you want to travel across the state or not, you can look at this map. It'll show you all kinds of stuff. Again, that's on aarontutleweather.com under the Oklahoma Road Conditions tab. Okay, so that's a lot. What time is it? 12:09. I got a couple minutes, and I got to get. Let's see. So Seminole, yes, Nat, on YouTube, you're going to get something for sure. Jim, it is definitely cold outside. On Twitter, if you guys had any questions, you can send them to me real quick. I'll check it here in just about a minute. So if you want to type anything out, do so now. Let's see, let's go to my Patreon page here real quick for Facebook. Load it up. Where are you? There it is. Okay, so on this guy, let's see. Mary, good to see you. The wind is brutal, and cold temperatures are brutal too. Happy New Year's Eve also to you guys, Scott and Bethany. Appreciate that. My joints feel this cold coming. Jordan, that's the official forecast. We're done. It's over. Stick a fork in it. So you're home by 7. Yeah, it's going to take a while for the bridges and overpasses to ice over. It may take several hours this evening, but by midnight, I'm just telling you, it should be a mess on the bridges and overpasses by midnight. Those that haven't been treated. Now remember, the city will treat many of them, so that will help in that regard. But anytime you get a situation like this, just be careful. And when you're dealing with pure ice, it's not something fun to talk about. So I would always check those road conditions, and you're like your Google Maps also. On that page, it'll show you here around town for Oklahoma City and Tulsa, which, let me do that here. Okay, put this up real quick. On that same road conditions page, I've got Tulsa and Oklahoma City, Lawton, Purcell, and statewide. You can get pictures from all the different traffic cameras, and you can find out how quickly traffic is moving along. So that'll help answer your questions where the trouble spots are. If it all starts turning red, there's a problem, right? Okay, so let's go back here to your questions. Where are we? So thank you, Michelle. Happy New Year's Eve to you. So how late into tomorrow? So about lunchtime, everything's over with anything significant over the state. Here in Oklahoma City, it would be ending, probably by mid to late morning. There'll be a little flurry activity going on, maybe a little bit of drizzle afterwards, but we'll stay cloudy, stay cold. We have some more snow coming in Friday night, Saturday morning, but it's really light, and that'll move on out. And we'll start to defrost and thaw things out Saturday afternoon on into Sunday. So John wants to know 3/10 foot ice for Oklahoma City. And then on top of that snow, that is correct. And the snow amounts could be anywhere from 2 inches to as much as, say, 5 in and around town. Most likely the heavier snow will be on the west and southwest side of town. Lighter amounts on the east and southeast side when it comes to snow. The icing is just uniform, so it's just fair game for anyone in that for about anywhere from a quarter as much as half inch of ice. So that should answer your question there, Darren. Amanda must be very late to the party. She goes, what time will all this start? Let me just start over. I'll tell you what, I'm going to end this, and you can watch the replay, by the way, on Facebook or Twitter or Periscope and YouTube, so you can rewatch them there at any time, and then you can skip ahead if you just want to kind of look through certain maps. I kind of set it up for you. I do the whole loft the ball up, and then I spike it down. So I teach you on the way up, and then I hammer home what the end result is. So that's kind of what I do, which takes a little extra time, but you guys learn a lot in the process of it, and you understand it better. And I don't treat you like a bunch of indolent children, that have no knowledge, grasp, and no intelligence. So it's kind of like a classroom one-on-one setting. You can't get that on TV because you only get 3.5 minutes to talk, so your limited teaching ability is like this short. Whereas here I can spend you 15, 20 minutes or so giving you a forecast and telling you all the ins and outs of it. And so you can understand how difficult it is. But not anybody can do this, and you'll see why when I tell you all the stuff you have to take into an account. It is a mess. So anyway, if you're very, very late, it's from 6 o'clock onward here in central Oklahoma. Precipitation will be here in the form of freezing rain and some sleet, and it only gets heavier as the evening goes on, and then it wraps up it changes over to some snow overnight. We'll have thunder, freezing rain, thunder, sleet, thunder, snow, more than likely. And then into tomorrow morning, it all starts to end on the snow side, and then it's out of the state probably by lunchtime. So from Tulsa down I-44 to Oklahoma City, to and from along that line as usual. It always seems to be that line when it comes to ice. It's very strange. And then down toward Lawton, that's like the line in the sand. Everything along that line, and then points north and west, it's a winter storm. There will be some stuff, though, down south on 35 to Paul's Valley and that kind of deal. Okay, I got to get out of here. You guys have been great. Thanks, always, for watching, sharing. I do plan on doing a live here tonight it might be around 9 o'clock. It just depends on how things go, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be around 9, unless something just dramatically happens to go on a little earlier. It won't be any later because, hey, I got New Year's Eve plans too. Me and Jody got a bottle of bubbly we got to take care of. So you guys have a great day, great afternoon, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.